Hello there, and welcome to the Dreamy Lab. Tonight we're easing into the quiet rhythm of the natural world, where patterns whisper through petals, seashells, and stars. In this gentle video, we'll explore one of nature's most elegant secrets, the Fibonacci sequence, the quiet code behind so much of life's beauty. This won't be a lecture, but a soft journey. If you drift off to sleep along the way, that's more than okay. It's part of the experience. Just settle in, get cozy, and let your breathing slow as we wander through nature's quiet mathematics. Imagine holding a seashell in your hand. Its spiral doesn't shout for attention. It curls inward softly, as though it's been folding in time with something ancient and wise. Or picture a new vine winding gently around a branch, following an invisible path as though it somehow knows the way. These spirals aren't accidents. They're part of a hidden rhythm, an elegant pattern repeated across the natural world. One of the most remarkable of these patterns is the Fibonacci sequence. It begins with something incredibly simple. Starting with 1 and 1, each number is created by adding the 2 that came before it. The sequence grows gently. 1, 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, 13, 21. And on it goes, expanding like a breath, shaping life quietly from the inside out. This sequence connects to something even more mysterious, the golden ratio, a number often called nature's secret formula. It describes a kind of perfect balance, a proportion that feels calming and familiar, even if you don't realize why. You can see it in the way flower petals are arranged, in the spacing of seeds on a sunflower, in the swirl of hurricanes, and even in the arcs of distant galaxies. It's as though the universe prefers to grow in spirals and unfold in harmony. But why does nature choose this path? What makes this ratio and sequence so deeply woven into everything from pine cones to pineapples? These gentle mysteries invite us to look a little closer, not with urgency, but with quiet curiosity. Tonight we'll slowly unravel how this simple pattern shapes growth with beauty and efficiency, how it allows plants to gather sunlight, how shells form perfect curves, and how order emerges from what looks like chaos. So take a deep breath. Let your shoulders relax. The night is calm, and there's nowhere else to be. Join me now as we begin this peaceful journey into the soft mathematics of nature, where patterns breathe and beauty grows in silence. Let's begin. But what exactly are Fibonacci numbers? At their core, they form a sequence, a softly unfolding chain of numbers born from a simple rule. Each new number is created by adding together the 2 that came before it. Beginning with the quietest of origins, usually 1 and 1, the pattern grows gently, almost as if it's breathing. 1, 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, 13. Each number leans on the last, stretching forward with a sense of quiet purpose. There's no rush, no chaos, just steady, natural growth, like the slow turning of a spiral or the opening of a fern in morning light. At first glance, this sequence might seem like nothing more than a mathematical curiosity, just numbers on a page. But the magic lies in where these numbers appear, not just in theory, but in the living world around us. This pattern reveals something deeper about how nature grows, forms, and organizes itself. These numbers don't scatter randomly. They repeat in leaf arrangements, pine cones, seashells, flower petals, unfurling vines, and even the arms of galaxies spinning light years away. It's as if nature has chosen this quiet rhythm as one of its favorite instructions, a hidden structure that links the smallest sprout to the curve of a nautilus shell. The beauty of the Fibonacci sequence comes from its graceful simplicity. From a single rule, entire worlds of order appear. Spirals, patterns, and natural symmetry emerge from it like poetry unfolding in silence. Rather than being just a string of digits, the sequence acts like a language, a soft code whispered across time and space. It tells trees how to spread their leaves to catch the most sunlight. It guides the swirl of hurricanes and the growth of cactus spines. It shapes the curves we find comforting and the forms that feel naturally balanced. To understand this sequence is to glimpse a subtle architecture beneath the surface of things, a quiet blueprint that life has trusted for millions of years. And once you begin to notice it, you start to realize the world isn't just alive. It's patterned, thoughtfully, beautifully, mysteriously so. Beyond the quiet forests and gentle gardens, spirals and soft curves appear throughout nature on scales, both impossibly small and unimaginably vast. Consider the seashell, the delicate spiraling home of a creature hidden within the tides. As the animal grows, its shell expands in a smooth, outward spiral, never breaking rhythm, never wasting space. Each new chamber builds upon the last with quiet precision, forming a structure that is both strong and elegant. This spiral is not an accident of shape, but the result of an underlying pattern that guides growth with remarkable efficiency. And while we might hold a shell in the palm of our hand, the same spiraling form reaches to the farthest edges of the universe. In the vast darkness of space, galaxies, immense gatherings of stars, dust, and gas, stretch their luminous arms in sweeping spiral formations. These structures can span hundreds of thousands of light years, turning slowly like celestial pinwheels drifting through the cosmos. Their shape is shaped by gravity and motion, yet it mirrors the very curves of a seashell resting quietly on a shore. Nature, it seems, repeats itself across scales, from the microscopic to the galactic, weaving the same rhythms into matter and movement. Even the sky above our world is shaped by spirals. Hurricanes and cyclones twist in powerful, swirling patterns, sculpted by the rotation of the Earth and the flow of the atmosphere. These spirals carry wind, water, and energy across great distances, shaping weather and reshaping coastlines. From shells curled in the sand to galaxies turning in silence, from the swirl of a storm to the birth of a fern, the spiral form appears again and again, as if nature is speaking in a quiet, ancient language. And so we are left to wonder, why do these curves return in so many places? What makes the spiral such a trusted blueprint for growth, motion, and structure? These questions gently invite us to look more closely at the patterns unfolding around us, to sense the hidden harmony beneath what looks like chance, and to listen, softly, to the quiet geometry that seems to guide the world. Among all the quiet patterns that shape the world, one number seems to stand gently above the rest, a constant so elegantly woven into nature that it feels less like a formula and more like a whisper from the universe. This is the golden ratio, often called nature's secret number, a silent rhythm that appears in flowers, shells, trees, artwork, and even the proportions of the human body. People have sensed its harmony for thousands of years, long before it had a name, drawn to its balance without knowing why. The golden ratio reveals itself when a shape or line is divided, so that the smaller part relates to the larger part in the same way the larger part relates to the whole. This creates proportions that feel unusually natural, neither rigid nor random, neither forced nor chaotic. It is a symmetry of quiet elegance, one that seems to breathe rather than stand still. This is not just about beauty, it is about function and flow. In nature, the golden ratio often guides growth in ways that make space, energy, and resources incredibly efficient. Leaves curl around a stem in this pattern so each one catches the light. Petals of flowers often follow it, arranging themselves to bloom in perfect balance. Shells follow its curve as they grow, expanding without losing strength. Even branches on trees and seeds in a sunflower spiral according to its gentle proportions, creating forms that seem both mathematical and miraculous. Artists, architects, and builders across ages, from ancient temples to Renaissance paintings, have used these proportions, often unconsciously, to create forms that feel deeply satisfying to the eye and spirit. It acts like a hidden thread weaving through art, science, and life itself, connecting what we build to what the earth grows on its own. And so we are left with a soft, lingering question. Why does this number return again and again across time and space, in living things and human creations alike? Is it luck, instinct, or something fundamental woven into the laws of growth and form? As we wander deeper into this mystery, we begin to see how this quiet ratio guides life with a subtle grace, shaping the world in ways both visible and unseen. For as long as humans have existed, we have been quietly mesmerized by the mysterious patterns woven into the world around us. Long before anyone spoke the name Fibonacci, people noticed spirals in seashells, petals unfurling in soft rhythm, and branches dividing with a silent logic that seemed too elegant to be random. These shapes were more than decoration. They were subtle signals, hints of an unseen order, a gentle architecture tucked beneath nature's surface. Even without words to name it, our ancestors felt its presence in the curves of horns, the arrangement of seeds, and the rhythm of tides. It stirred curiosity that passed quietly from generation to generation, like a question carried on the wind. The Fibonacci sequence itself was first written down in the 13th century by Leonardo of Pisa, known to us as Fibonacci, who introduced it through a simple puzzle about how rabbits might multiply over time. The problem seemed small, almost playful, yet the numbers it revealed had already been whispering through the world for centuries, unnoticed and unnamed. Long before the sequence was recorded, its logic shaped the spirals of shells, the turn of vines, and the unfolding of petals, as though nature had been patiently writing its own mathematics long before humans began to study it. Ancient builders and artists, from the architects of the pyramids of Egypt to the creators of the Parthenon in Greece, used proportions strikingly similar to those found in the Fibonacci sequence and the golden ratio. They sought harmony that reflected the natural world, crafting temples, sculptures, and monuments with a balance that soothed the eye and stirred something quiet in the soul. They may not have known the formulas, but they sensed them in the world around them. In the way leaves spiral up a stem to catch sunlight, in the curls of waves meeting the shore, in the branching of trees, and in the delicate folds of flowers. Even without modern mathematics, they followed the same silent blueprint nature had been using all along. That fascination has never faded. Today, scientists, artists, architects, musicians, and philosophers continue to explore how these quiet numbers appear in living forms, galaxies, music, and design, as though there is a timeless conversation between nature and human imagination. We see Fibonacci spirals in sunflowers and pine cones, in hurricanes swirling over oceans, in the way galaxies stretch their arms across the dark, and even in the growth of animal horns and the shape of our own DNA. These spirals and proportions repeat across scales so vastly different that it almost feels like the universe is speaking one language, whether in whispers or in stars. These patterns feel almost magical, not because they escape reason, but because they reveal how deeply reason is stitched into the fabric of life. They show us that beauty, balance, and function can grow from the same quiet rule, repeated again and again like a heartbeat across time. The enduring allure of these numbers reminds us that the world is not merely chaotic or accidental. It is shaped by rhythms both visible and secret, by forms that echo through petals and planets alike. All around us, patterns are quietly asking to be noticed, inviting us to lean in, to wonder, and to listen gently to the order that lives beneath the surface of everything. Long before modern science could explain the mathematics behind patterns in nature, early naturalists were quietly observing and recording the world with patient curiosity. These were thinkers who wandered through forests with notebooks instead of instruments, who paused beside streams and shorelines not to measure, but to notice. They studied flowers as they opened to the morning, traced the curl of shells with their fingers, and followed the branching of trees with thoughtful eyes. Even without formulas or formal theories, they sensed that certain shapes kept appearing for a reason. Spirals in nautilus shells, the whirls of leaves around a stem, the way branches split and resplit like rivers flowing through wood. These patterns felt too consistent to be random. One of these early observers was Johann Wolfgang von Goethe in the 18th century, a poet, philosopher, and naturalist who believed nature spoke in forms. He coined the term morphology to describe the study of living shapes and structures, and he spent years wondering why nature returned to familiar designs. Why did so many plants grow in spirals? Why did leaves cluster in precise arrangements rather than scatter at random? Goethe believed that these repeating patterns were not decoration but intention, part of a deeper logic guiding growth, survival, and beauty. His ideas, though simple at the time, helped shape how later scientists would think about form and function. As the centuries passed, careful observation began to evolve into quieter investigation. Naturalists continued to sketch pine cones, sunflowers, and shell spirals, noticing something uncanny in the way seeds arranged themselves or petals formed. They didn't yet have the mathematical tools to understand what they were seeing, but they recognized a strange regularity, In many of these spirals and whorls, the same numbers appeared over and over. It wasn't until later that mathematicians would connect these shapes to what we now call the Fibonacci sequence, a quiet code hidden in pine cones, sunflowers, ferns, shells, and countless other forms of life. The sketches, journals, and field notes of these observers became seeds for the scientific discoveries that followed. Their quiet awe laid the foundation for modern biology, botany, and mathematics to work together in uncovering the invisible frameworks of nature. They showed that science often begins not with equations, but with the willingness to look closely, to sit with curiosity rather than certainty. And that wonder is still with us today. The same sense of gentle discovery arises when someone notices the spiral of a fern unfurling, or pauses to count the points on a starfish, or looks at the sweep of a galaxy and feels something familiar in its shape. Early naturalists remind us that the world first reveals its secrets not through answers, but through attention. It is in that quiet act of looking that we begin to hear the language nature has been speaking all along, a language written in symmetry, rhythm, and pattern, unfolding one spiral at a time. Nature seldom creates flawless shapes, yet certain mathematical patterns appear so frequently that they seem almost intentional. These aren't rigid formulas stamped into the world, but soft approximations, graceful echoes of mathematical ideals expressed through living forms. A seashell doesn't carve out a perfect spiral, but its growth follows a steady, elegant curve. The seeds in a sunflower aren't arranged with precise mathematical accuracy, yet they form spirals that closely reflect the Fibonacci sequence. These almost perfect repetitions reveal something profound about how life evolves. Nature prefers what is efficient, flexible, and adaptive, not what is exact. Take pine cones or pineapples, classic examples of Fibonacci-based spiraling. Their seed patterns allow for the most efficient packing of small units in limited space, preventing overlap and waste. Plants don't calculate these patterns numerically, but through growth processes shaped by evolution, they arrive at forms that work remarkably well. The golden ratio, often celebrated as nature's hidden design code, appears not as a perfect constant in living things, but as a guiding tendency. A leaf may not divide space with exact numerical precision, yet its placement often maximizes sunlight. Petals may not follow mathematical rules perfectly, but their arrangement increases pollination success. The goal isn't perfection, it's survival. These organic deviations from mathematical ideals aren't flaws, they're features. Small variations allow organisms to adapt to their environments. A perfectly symmetrical plant might catch the eye, but one with slight irregularities is better equipped to withstand wind, pests, and competition. Across scales, from galaxies swirling in space to the unfolding of a fern frond, nature balances order with softness, symmetry with randomness. This blend of precision and imperfection is not accidental. It's evolution's quiet signature. Rather than imposing strict geometry, nature bends mathematics just enough to make it come alive. In doing so, it reveals a deeper truth. Harmony doesn't always mean perfection. It often lives in the space between order and variation, where patterns are not enforced, but emerge. These shapes and spirals, though never exact, whisper of the invisible rules that shape the world, rules written not in flawless lines, but in the graceful language of possibility. The fascination with Fibonacci pattern stretches far beyond mathematics, quietly weaving itself through culture, science, art, and philosophy like a hidden golden thread. Across ages and empires, from ancient temples to modern research labs, people have been intrigued by the way these numbers surface in both the natural world and human creations. Their quiet recurrence evokes a sense of wonder that transcends borders, language, and time, a feeling that perhaps the universe is speaking in patterns we can almost understand. Artists, architects, and designers, whether knowingly or by instinct, have repeatedly turned to the golden ratio, a proportion intimately linked to the Fibonacci sequence. From the sweeping arches of cathedrals to Renaissance paintings, from Greek temples to contemporary skyscrapers, this ratio shapes structures in a way that feels pleasing without explanation. It resonates with something deeply human, as though our minds are naturally tuned to recognize its symmetry. Even those unfamiliar with the mathematics behind it often describe such designs as balanced, calming, or beautiful, hinting at a subconscious recognition of harmony. In nature, the presence of Fibonacci patterns is even more astonishing. The spirals of galaxies in the night sky mirror the gentle curves of hurricanes swirling across oceans. Pine cones, pineapples, and sunflowers arrange their seeds with remarkable efficiency using these numbers, maximizing growth and conserving space. Petals often grow in Fibonacci-based counts, while leaves spiral around stems at precise angles to capture sunlight without overcrowding. Seashells curl in graceful logarithmic spirals, echoing mathematical precision shaped by survival and adaptation. These patterns are not decorative accidents, they are nature's quiet solutions, shaped by evolution to optimize function and form. Scientists and mathematicians study these recurring structures to uncover the principles guiding growth, efficiency, and complexity. To them, the Fibonacci sequence operates like a bridge between imagination and reality, demonstrating how intricate systems can emerge from simple numerical rules. It serves as proof that mathematics is not just an abstract language, but an active force shaping how life organizes, expands, and endures. Cultural traditions and philosophical thought have also embraced these patterns with reverence. In some cultures, spirals and proportional forms symbolize spiritual harmony, divine geometry, or cosmic order. Ancient builders inscribed these ratios into sacred architecture, believing them to reflect the structure of the universe. In mythology and folklore, recurring patterns are often portrayed as signs of hidden wisdom, a language of creation itself. Across scriptures, mandalas, mosaics, and monuments, echoes of Fibonacci's rhythm can be found, speaking softly through art and belief. What makes the Fibonacci sequence compelling is not merely its prevalence, but what it seems to imply: that growth and beauty are not random, but guided by a quiet logic. It reveals a universal rhythm that links disciplines as diverse as astronomy, music, biology, architecture, and philosophy. A sunflower and a spiral galaxy may seem unrelated, yet both follow similar mathematical arcs, suggesting a harmony that binds the vast and the small, the ancient and the modern. Ultimately, Fibonacci's legacy is not just a mathematical curiosity, it is an invitation. It asks us to look closer at the world around us, to notice the hidden symmetries in a storm cloud, a seashell, a pine cone, or a work of art. It urges us to reflect on the subtle intelligence embedded in creation, where order and mystery exist side by side. Even in apparent chaos, there is quiet structure. Even in simplicity, there is depth waiting to be seen. The Fibonacci sequence does more than inspire curiosity, it stirs a deep, reflective awe. It reminds us that the universe is not only vast and complex, but also intimately patterned, whispering its secrets through numbers, spirals, and forms that feel both mysterious and familiar. In observing these patterns, we do more than study nature, we listen to it. But what happens when we look even more closely at how plants arrange their leaves? Beneath their quiet stillness lies one of nature's most elegant and purposeful strategies, a spiral blueprint known as spiral phyllotaxis. At first glance, it might seem like a charming coincidence or a flourish of natural artistry. But this pattern is not just visually pleasing. It is a deeply intelligent design shaped by survival and efficiency. Plants use this spiral formation to position their leaves in the best possible way to receive sunlight, the energy source that fuels photosynthesis, growth, and life itself. In spiral phyllotaxis, each new leaf doesn't simply appear wherever it can. Instead, it emerges at a specific angle from the previous one, most often close to the golden angle of 137.5 degrees. This spacing acts like a quiet rulebook, ensuring that no leaf blocks another from receiving sunlight. Rather than piling up or casting shadows, the leaves take turns in a twisting ascent around the stem, each one gently stepping aside for the next. It is a design without waste, no overlap, no crowding, only balance. Viewed from a distance, these spirals can appear almost artistic, like something thoughtfully sketched by an invisible hand. Yet their beauty is born of function, not decoration. The same spiral arrangement found in leaves can also be seen in pine cones, sunflowers, succulents, pineapples, ferns, cacti, and budding roses. These structures often follow Fibonacci numbers in their arrangements, quietly linking mathematics with the natural world. The number of spirals rotating in one direction and the other frequently match consecutive Fibonacci numbers, like 13 and 21 or 21 and 34, forming a pattern that is both purposeful and breathtaking. And yet, for all its precision, spiral phyllotaxis is not rigid. It is adaptable, flexible, and responsive. Plants can subtly shift the angle of their leaves based on the conditions around them, leaning toward sunlight, curving away from harsh wind, or adjusting when space is limited by neighboring plants. This ability to follow a pattern while still adapting ensures survival in environments that are constantly changing. Picture a young stem bathed in the soft light of dawn. Each new leaf unfurls not randomly, but in rhythm, like steps in a dance written long before it began. From towering trees stretching toward the sky to tiny seedlings nestled in garden soil, this spiral geometry sustains entire ecosystems. It helps plants thrive in dense forests, crowded fields, and shaded understories, ensuring that no leaf is forgotten or left to wither in darkness. What makes this pattern even more extraordinary is how seamlessly it blends form and function. The same geometry that creates visual harmony also fuels biological success. It is a silent collaboration between mathematics and life, a living equation that writes itself across meadows, jungles, and mountain slopes. And it doesn't stop with leaves. The same principle guides how branches divide, how seeds arrange themselves in the heart of a sunflower, how cones twist, and how succulents build their layered forms. Even the way cactus spines grow often follows the same spiral logic. The next time you hold a pine cone, trace the curve of a fern frond, or peer into the heart of a sunflower. Notice the spirals that rise and fall across their surfaces. They are not accidents. They are nature's quiet calculus, a thoughtful architecture shaped over millions of years. Each leaf, each seed, each petal is part of a grand geometry, a design that allows life to grow toward the light with grace and intelligence. These spirals remind us that survival can be not only efficient, but profoundly beautiful. Let's pause here and linger a little longer with one of nature's most astonishing uses of the Fibonacci sequence, seed packing. It may seem like a small detail at first, something you could easily pass over without a second thought. But hidden within this quiet strategy is one of the most efficient, elegant, and ancient systems of design found anywhere in the natural world. It is both purposeful and poetic, ensuring survival while creating patterns so beautiful that we often admire them without realizing why. Consider the sunflower. From a distance, its center looks like a golden circle, tidy, cheerful, and familiar. But when you move closer, when your eyes trace the seeds instead of the petals, something extraordinary begins to appear. The seeds aren't placed in rows or random clusters. They are arranged in two interlocking sets of spirals, each set curving in the opposite direction. Like threads in a woven cloth, these spirals link and overlap with stunning precision. This arrangement is not simply for beauty. It is a masterpiece of efficiency. By following this spiral structure, the sunflower can fit more seeds into a small space than if they were arranged in lines or rings. No area is wasted. No seed is crowded. Each has room to grow and mature. Each has access to nutrients, and each contributes to the future of the plant. It is geometry serving life, elegant, quiet, and astonishingly effective. The mathematics behind this is even more fascinating. In many sunflower heads, the number of spirals in each direction almost always corresponds to consecutive Fibonacci numbers, 21 and 34, 34 and 55, or even 55 and 89. These numbers allow each seed to settle into the tightest possible arrangement, forming a living blueprint that balances symmetry with density. Without ever calculating, measuring, or planning, the sunflower follows a rule that mathematicians study and artists admire. But this pattern is not unique to sunflowers. The same gentle logic appears in the structure of pine cones. At first glance, a pine cone seems simple, layers of woody scales stacked in a familiar form. Yet when you turn it in your hand and trace the lines with your eyes, spirals begin to reveal themselves, spiraling left, spiraling right, overlapping in precise harmony. These spirals serve real purposes. They shield the seeds deep inside from harsh weather and hungry animals. They distribute pressure and tension, allowing the cone to expand or contract without breaking. They open and close with humidity, ensuring seeds are released only under the right conditions. They support dispersal, helping seeds travel farther to take root in new soil. The structure is not only functional, it is deeply efficient. Each scale is angled perfectly to fit the next, using space wisely while maintaining strength. Again, Fibonacci numbers quietly guide this form, not rigidly, but closely enough to reveal a pattern shaped by necessity and time. What's truly remarkable is that neither sunflowers nor pine cones consciously design these spirals. There is no calculation, no blueprint drawn by hand. Nature uses the simplest possible rules: grow, divide, repeat. And from those rules emerges a design that solves complex spatial problems with elegant ease. These spirals are a kind of silent intelligence, not thinking in words, but expressing logic through form. They show us that life doesn't always need perfection to be precise. It doesn't need symmetry to create harmony. It works through quiet repetitions, small variations, and patterns that have stood the test of millions of years. To hold a pine cone or gaze into the center of a sunflower is to witness something profound. Beauty and efficiency born from the same source. A pattern that is not imposed, but grown. A rhythm shared between mathematics and biology, between shape and survival. This is nature at its most subtle and brilliant, not dramatic or loud, but quietly exact. Beneath every curve is intention. Beneath every spiral is wisdom gained through time. And beneath every pattern is a glimpse of the unseen mathematics that guides life as it expands, evolves, and endures.